Cool. So we're live. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Hospodar from My Matrix, and this is our Partner Matrix webcast. Today, we're going to talk about 3 tips to become a better partner marketer. And with me, I've got Jacqui Rand. Hey, Jacqui.
Hi, nice to meet you, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and nice to see you, Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. So I think people mostly know My Matrix, but maybe Jacqui, give me the high-level history, who you are, what you do, and what organization you're with.
Sure. I work for the Marketing Bee and have been doing so for a few years now. I've been in channel for far too long, since back in the day, the 80s, for goodness sake. And so, yeah, for companies like, let me think, Ashton Tate, spent 10 years at Microsoft, Peter Norton, Symantec, WordStar, these are names from way back. And yes, when channel was sort of distribution and resellers only, there weren't all the nuances that there are right now. And, a reward was you would show up to a distributor with a wad of cash and run a spiff or a program. And every time they got through to somebody and sold something, you gave them cash. There were no IR35s, no weird, sort of contractual weirdnesses as there are now, compliance.
Easy and basic, just a wad of cash and just kind of make it happen.
Absolutely.
Cool. So being that this is a LinkedIn Live, people might be watching this as a recording. Feel free to add comments down below. It's always going to be available live on the My Matrix LinkedIn page. So if you have to jump off, the recording will always kind of live there. So let's jump into it. I think that we've got a pretty unique perspective on some things we're working on that we can kind of talk about, and some other pieces that are going to make people better partner marketers. But I kind of broke this down into 3 main topics. 1, the channel is not direct, and kind of taking that philosophy to help think about channel marketing versus direct marketing, why that's different. 2, the other tip is going to be getting training and upping your skills and doing those things. And 3 is going to be around networking and kind of joining the organization. I think that these are going to kind of cumulatively build, and it'll be a nice story to kind of understand each piece. So let's start off too with like the channel is not direct. And Jacqui kind of touched on it, of your history in the channel. What have you kind of seen as the evolution, or how have you seen maybe some people that have done it well or done it wrong, and kind of hit that where they're making that line between direct and channel and becoming better at partner marketing when they don't think of them as the same?
Wow, big question. So obviously direct, you are selling direct to the customer. So your marketing can be talking to the customer about your proposition. So there's a fairly straight linear process. And also in these days of marketing, you can track that. There's a lot of different ways with the way people click on links and so forth. And so you can track campaign performance, you can track whether that asset got downloaded, all sorts. So for that direct marketing, as I say, things have moved apace with the technology that can provide all of that tracking and performance for those people. When it comes to indirect, there's someone in the middle, and it's a partner, and it could be any number of different types of partner. And that's changed a lot. Instead of it just being what was usually termed as a reseller, there's now so many nuances on that of different types of partners who could just recommend, they could just sell services. There's obviously a distributor in there. There's all sorts of different ways in which that sort of middle tier are recommending your solution or presenting your solution to the customer. But from a marketing perspective, it then makes it really complicated, because partner marketing means you have to market to those partners, but then you also have to get to your customers with those partners or through those partners, etc. And so the nuances of doing that become that much more complex and harder to track. And I think that's something that vendors have been struggling with for some time now. And I don't think we've necessarily got all the solutions, but we're getting there.
Yeah, that idea of to, through, and with, like understanding those different pieces of it. You're going to market to your partners, so you've got mind share. You're going to market through your partners, so that if you have if it's more technical or something like that, that you're going to try to just maybe use them as a vehicle to pass the information along. Or if you're going to do with, if you're going to co-brand, if you're going to do taking things to market together. But I think you hit on another point we can maybe go back to of like, there's different types of partners too. I think that maybe back in the old days, if you're showing up with that wad of cash and you know that you're looking for either a referral or you're looking for a contract, like it was pretty simple and easy that if you knew that type of partner, you did that type of motion and that type of action. But now, like you mentioned, influencers, there's alliances, there's different partners play different roles at different deals and different times. Like there's so much variable. Like how do you, with your expertise and kind of how you look at these, like how do you approach those, or how do you make that all kind of work?
You have to do it very carefully, and you have to segment your partners and understand your partners. They are partners. This isn't just a push. They are your partners. And that's a really key point. You need to build the relationship and understand their businesses. You know, they could be running their own multi-million-pound business and they're very professional business people. And, you know, so therefore you need to ensure that you provide them with the enablement and empower them to take your products to market alongside their own other products and solutions. So I think, as I say, it's a very, it needs to be personal and customized for each partner. But then when you get as a big vendor, you have to be able to scale that. So it does become very complex. There are platforms, as you know, that help with this. So the sort of PRM, which is partner relationship management, and portals and TCMA through channel marketing automation. So there's lots of different acronyms and platforms that can help with all of that, which look after some of the general automation and facilitate things so that partners can access the assets and the collateral and the information and the training and all of those things. But you still have to have a relationship with those partners, and your people in the field, your partner account managers, your channel account managers are vital to continue that relationship so that you understand what it is they need, and then you can help them with that, whether it's your marketing or your playbooks or sales enablement, etc.
I think that's interesting too that you mentioned that. I think a lot of times, or maybe in an older version of these motions, that a partner was a thing versus now partner is a category. That there's that no longer can you just call someone a partner, but you kind of have to like specify what their utility is. Are they an influencer? Are they an alliance? Or are they a referral? Are they a reseller? Like there's so many different types of partners, and with that technology, making sure that you make that available for like those different types of marketing, that you make that available for them to kind of choose what they feel comfortable with at the moment too.
No, absolutely. There's lots and lots of names for them, and one very common and sometimes overused name now is the whole ecosystem, because they are sort of inter sort of woven and interdependent. So, you know, there could be a trusted advisor or value-added reseller, the distributors, the MSPs, which is the managed service provider. You know, there's so many nuances, but at the end of the day, they are providing a solution and a service for the customer, and they're aggregating all of the bits that the customer needs. So you have to help them with those bits, and it could be across other vendors as well. So you need to kind of find a way of helping the partner, not just shove them your materials, which is, you know, something that has happened. You know, here you are, here's my newsletter, all of my news and what's important to me as a vendor. And it's like, well, the partner actually, you know, they might be in a technical guy and he doesn't need that. He needs the training. So you need to be kind of role based as far as what you're sending and the information you're communicating to your partners. So it makes it much more complex. But as I say, the PRM and portals can help with a lot of that.
Yeah, with on the PR, and I'm biased to the technology of those things. Yeah. And when you start to look at those, of that, yeah, are you looking for something that's very technical? Do you have to have numbers and acronyms and certifications and all those tricky pieces that you're trying to either go right to your partners so they're then the subject matter expert, or do you have some partners that don't want to live in that space and they talk value and solution and then they wait for the vendor to come in and have that co-branded material that you put out? So knowing that some of that stuff might not need to be co-branded, some of it needs to be co-branded, some of it needs to be like ready at the demand. We've seen that a lot of that. You think about like one piece of collateral, and if you're working with 100 partners, there's 100 different versions that could sit out there because everyone wants to put their logo as that trusted partner to a vendor. So understanding too on those relationships of like, how comfortable do the partners feel aligning with your brand? And there's positives and negatives on both sides of that.
Absolutely. And some partners actually, their brand should come to the foremost, because they're the ones who, are putting together the solution, and therefore they may well weave in the kind of proposition of some of their alliance partners or their vendors, but they need to be front and center. So as I say, you need to accommodate those different nuances depending on the partner, depending on the type and how they go to market, which is why, the partner marketing is that much more complicated. And the advances in customer marketing, which are all of the technology and the platforms that you can track what's going on, are now seeping into partner marketing, through those platforms and through understanding the sort of the buyer journey and so forth, and the number of personas. Some of those more kind of nuanced and innovations in customer marketing are now needing to find their way into partner marketing. It's not a one size fits all. You have to be flexible with what you provide for your partners.
And that's the interesting part on that direct side, that so much of that marketing technology stack was very driven by the vendors too, because they knew how they wanted to interact with their customers. While the customers started the journey, there was still certain points you always push them to in certain actions. So taking that technology and that visibility and reporting and putting that on the channel side and that indirect side, it makes it all different. But it's interesting because that brings us to the number 2 topic around training. There's so much of this stuff. And I think that you and I even brushed on what we think of as high level, but I'm sure there's a lot of information that people don't think of whenever you have these conversations, because they're stuck into their day to day, because there has not been training. Like you can't go to university, you can't go to a secondary education program and say, well, you know what, I want to major in channel marketing. I want to major in channel sales. So maybe talk a little bit about your evolution of whenever you started with that wad of cash to where you are now, where you're providing education and training. Like how did it get there, and how are you able to kind of standardize some of the education around this?
It's interesting because you're right. There's no A-level, O-level, GCSE, whatever they are these days, or university qualification. And I studied maths, and there was an element of computing in that, and we were really excited because from Bath University we could then email Bristol University, and that's how long ago it was, which is quite scary actually. But the advances in the technology is just sort of symptomatic of how channel has grown as well, and how that's evolved. But there still is no formal training. So what we've done is actually we provide some face-to-face events. So we have the channel meetup, which there's a series of 3 in the UK, in Boston, and also in California, in Palo Alto. And these face-to-face events really are for channel professionals, so channel marketing, channel sales, channel operations, people who've got the same challenges to come together and learn. And the day we have an analyst, be it IDC in the UK and or Forrester in the US, who provides some of those kind of data points around the trends in channel, which are really helpful for the audience because it gives them sort of, 9 out of 10 people are doing this. So they've got the ammunition to go to their internal teams and go, I need this because everyone else is doing this, and I need to get budget to do this. So that really helps them with their sort of ammunition. But then we also have a lot of interactive sessions, panel debates, roundtables facilitated by our sponsors, where we have deep discussions about channel challenges. And it doesn't matter if there's 2 or 3 security companies in the room. They're not talking about the products. They're talking about channel. And so there's no competition. Everyone's trying to help with best practice, peer-to-peer learning, and those kinds of insights. And what we've done as well now this year is we've launched our online platform, which enables those delegates that have come to the events to continue the conversations. And that's what they ask for, so that they can, just do that. Just ask further questions of some of the other delegates or some of the groups, some of the round tables, and say, did anyone solve that problem yet? So it gives them a vehicle, and we've provided lots of kind of templates and tools and suggested reading on there to help people.
Because it's interesting because like that peer-to-peer learning, like if you're in an organization that maybe is just developing the channel, or even if you have a mature channel motion, there's not a lot of people that are in that team. And even the people that are in that team, they might be the ones who built it from the ground up and have kind of had to bootstrap it. So while trying to make it work, they only know their methodology. And without that general like learning and education and the training, I mean, there's other industry events, and you go to other maybe direct marketing events. Of HubSpot's a big one. There's with Salesforce, and like you look at like Oracle and SAP, all these like large vendor shows, they have a partner piece that's carved out. You can go and connect with other partners who maybe work in that with the same vendors. You can work in partners that have the same like marketplaces and ecosystems. But what's unique too is that then you can, let's talk to partner people and channel people, indirect people that might not be in your industry. They might not be working with the same vendors to maybe glean some things of like, hey, that's not exactly what I do, but I see the functionality that you're doing. How can I pull that back in and maybe internalize it? Because there's no playbook. There's no, you can't go back to a published coursework to say like that's the best way to do it.
No, absolutely. It's best practice by trial and error, and you know that. Excuse me. That peer learning is really important for people. Excuse me.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we saw on our end too in the My Matrix platform. The fact that we're the ones that were powering a lot of these channel programs and these ecosystems, and seeing this. How the partner marketing role kind of ran out, we actually went and created our own free course too of like, hey, let's just level set for, we thought, well, first one, it's a great way for our customers who use our platform to kind of like have an easy way they all understand. If a team joins and there's 5 people on the team, let's at least give them table stakes. They understand what they're doing, or they hire a new person that they can kind of bring them up to speed. But at the same time, we gathered all this information. We're like, you know what, the company, My Matrix, has been around for 27 years now. Let's give it back. I mean, all the things that we've learned has only been because of the community and through our relationship with organizations. They said, okay, we're going to make this free course and we'll just put it out there for free. So do it through an SSO, through LinkedIn. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you can access this. It's 18 courses. It's all built in video content. It's all put there. But I think as we built that, we took learning from. Pardon me?
I've done some. I tested it. It's great. It's really, really good because it does. It really makes you think. Even though I've been in channel for donkey's years, but it does make you stop and think. You know, because sometimes there is, as you say, there's no necessarily right or wrong answer. You know, in a lot of these things, but it's really great coursework. Actually, it's excellent. And as you say, it just gives somebody. It gives them food for thought. Makes them think about how they could approach a challenge, an issue around channel.
And it's kind of methodology agnostic too. I think that's one thing we did that say like, here's the fundamentals. Like if you're into sport, if you're into any type of activity, like you always kind of go back to the fundamentals of the basics. And that's kind of what this is, of that if you go down that path, like we were talking, if you're in an organization, you've built a channel and you're chasing those partners, or you're chasing that revenue, or you're chasing these ideas, to maybe take a step back and say, well, did we do it as a best practice? Did we do these things? Did we take all these things to an account as we put on the blinders and just went go because we're working on growth, or we're working towards an end goal? To take it back and say, well, let's have a level set. And if we work like organizations like the Marketing Beat, like how can we make sure that we have a basic level of understanding to then layer that education on top? So I think that's, the training piece, that it gets overlooked sometimes. And like I said, that you might have a partner session at a bigger marketing conference, or you might have a partner day where they've taken people who've worked on the direct side and kind of gone indirect, and they might be working on like, oh, here's how to organize your Excel sheet, or here's how to run a Google Doc to run your partner program, rather than like with these type of events where you're saying like, we're going to go partner first, and we're going to design for channel, for indirect, we're going to go that way. So I think that's and I mean, the event's great too.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really great resource. And we've got some other bits and pieces that if anybody is interested, just direct message me. Things like FAQs and acronyms. You know, if you're first coming into channel, it's really hard. It's like any industry. Yeah. Trust me, when I started at Microsoft, it was like blink, blink, rabbit in the headlights, because everything was acronyms. There's a great video on that somewhere in the archives, but it really is just the list of acronyms that you use in channels. So if anyone needs some of those, then do shout, and I can send some of those over.
Yeah, and that's the thing, they change per organization, and like it's like Pam, Cam, TCMA, all those things. And if you don't, maybe you do that function, but you just didn't know that another organization might call it that. So that's great.
No, it's complex.
I mean, I think we touched on it, but I think that right in line with the training is also the networking of the being able to do these things and not just go at it alone. And I think I want to take a step back too and talk about that community side, because I saw a big transition maybe in the last 2 years from those large 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people events in person where you're there and you're in a sea of people trying to maybe find a partnership person or maybe find a channel person, to now we're like, you're doing these events and you're kind of creating these networking opportunities to really have these conversations in a small roundtable discussion, talking with technology providers, talking with other practitioners. How have you seen that benefit the people who've joined those channel meetups?
That nothing beats face-to-face. I think, God, after the pandemic and we did our first channel meetup, I honestly was like Tigger. I was so excited to see everybody, and so was everybody. It was fantastic. The vibe in the room was just like so energetic. And also then if you can then take it offline. You can then go and join the forum, and you've already met that person and you say, when we were talking about this, how about, did you this? So it's not quite so dry. I think the combination is key, to have both the in-person events where, the energy and the vibe and everything really kind of, you don't want to miss that, because then the value you can then continue through the forum is that much better, because you've met the person, you met them face to face, and you shared a chat and a coffee, and I think that's great. And we've got the channel meetup events, and then with that you get automatically invited to the channel meetup forum. So pay once and you get both. So you get invited in. So it's a private online forum. It's not open to all. It's just for the delegates and the sponsors. Within there's spaces that are particularly for people who are channel marketing or channel operations. And so it's all kind of slice and dice with content and information and discussion groups, which build from the face-to-face. So it's a combination of both those things for networking, I think, is vital.
And I think that the meetup model, and I'll call it that as a de facto, but it's not a trade show, and it's not a conference. No. It's not in that massive size where you get lost. And I think that as a marketer, both a channel marketer and a direct marketer, I've really come to value those types of events, because you find the people that you want to talk to and interact with. If you go to a show with 5,000 people, you're maybe looking for the 100 or 200 people that are like you. Whenever you go to these events, it's concentrated. You know that you're getting the right type of people to network, and you're getting those good relationships there.
I've seen it happen in the flesh, literally, at the channel meetup in California, where one of the vendors was talking about marketplaces, another one was like, I don't know how to do, and they ended up working together, totally different vendors, but it was great, and we helped them with some of that as well subsequently. So it's that peer-to-peer learning, peer-to-peer best practice sharing. It's sharing and collaborating within the channel profession, both sort of from a marketing, operations and sales perspective, which is great. It's nice to see it in action.
Great. I think so. We touched on the 3 kind of tips there, that it's channel, it's not direct. You want to get your training. And I think that kind of dovetails into it about the networking. The other one too, that now I'll maybe throw this in there as maybe a bonus one, but it's kind of like giving things the space to let them happen. I think that's one thing too that we think of. We talked on an ecosystems, but channel is kind of a linear process of that. You've got a vendor, you've got a partner, you've got a customer, and you just hit on it too. Of that in these meetups and in these training events and in this networking time, letting people have those conversations and kind of figure out how they might be able to work together. And we talked about on the channel direct that you might have a group of partners that all get together, or you might have a group of resellers. And you as the vendor, you as the organizer might not even play a part in some of the benefit that comes out of it. But the fact that it all kind of happened, it's just kind of growing. It's the rising tide lifts all ships kind of idea.
Absolutely. And that's what ecosystem actually should be all about, is facilitating. So vendors and or, your platform or our events facilitate that networking and that ecosystem that you might not even realize, but by meeting somebody somewhere down the line, there is some value, and you end up working together in some other way. So yeah, absolutely. As you say, let it play out.
And the industry's small too. I mean, that's the thing that people don't realize, that you get this experience, you may build a channel, or you might work on an existing channel somewhere, and 6 months down the road, a year down the road, another opportunity comes up, and there's so many companies that are growing and using the channel to grow, that there's so many opportunities out there that you just kind of never know what's going to happen in 6 months to a year. So yeah, that's a great point.
Absolutely. I mean, just the acceleration of the number of great bits of tech out there is astounding. No, I don't think anyone can keep up. I don't think it's just me, but yeah, it's fascinating. It's great. It's exciting.
Awesome. So to kind of pull back through, if someone wanted to find out information about the channel meetups, which Mind Matrix, we're all in on the channel meetups for 2024. We're going to be there at all of them. Where would someone find out more information about that?
Channelmeetup.com. All one word, and or direct message me, and I'll send you information and details for one of the 3 events in, as I say, UK, Boston, and California.
Yeah, glowing endorsement from my end. I attended the one in Boston last year and just really saw it's a great event. It's well put together. It moves quickly, but there's also time for that networking, hosted by a great group of people. And it was a top class event. So I would anyone on the East Coast, West Coast of the US, or in the UK. Check that one out. And then I mentioned about our partner Marketing University. If you go to mindmatrix.net, go to the Mind Matrix LinkedIn page. We've got information there on the website in the top right-hand corner. It's an SSO with LinkedIn. So all you have to do is have a LinkedIn profile. One click, you're in there and learning and putting out your certification that you get on the end after you complete the courses. So yeah, 2 great ways for anyone who's interested in partner marketing or channel marketing to kind of get informed. But Jacqui, thank you for sharing some expertise, and we'll see you at the channel meetup or on the community side there.
Indeed. Lovely to see you, and take care. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.